Supergirl number 0, written by Michael Green and Mike Johnson, art by Mahmoud Asrar. This is the final day of Krypton, I suppose, from the perspective of Kara's father, Zor-El. So we see her in some sort of scanning tube or something like that, and Zor-El's narrating saying, like, I know the Krypton's about to die. I'm not telling anyone because that would just make everybody panic, and that's not worth it. And I'm just going to focus on saving what's mine, and everyone else can deal with themselves. So he pulls Kara out of her tube or whatever, and it's like, okay, your scan is done. Let's get you back home. You've got your trials coming up. We've got to deal with your trials. And a planet quake happens, and he's just like, yeah, don't worry about that. I totally got a solution. Let's just go back and do your trials. So they drive back from the lab in some hover vehicle, and she's like, why is your lab so far away from the entire rest of the city and civilization? And he's like, well, that's because the counselors might not agree with some of the mad science stuff I got going on. She's like cloning? And he's like, no, I don't do cloning. Cloning's crazy. I do other crazy stuff. So he's like, all right, don't worry about that. Let's go focus on your new life about to begin. But then we see Zor-El in front of the Council of Krypton or Argo or something like that. And basically they're like, hey, you put up these weird generator things all around Argo, and it has turned Argo from like a second-rate city into the jewel of Krypton. You're amazing, Zor-El. But question, what about Jor-El? What about your brother? Where's he at? And he's like, oh, I don't really talk to Jor-El anymore. We had some misunderstandings about my mad science stuff. And they're like, what mad science stuff? And he's like, what are you talking about? So then we see Kara is actually hanging out with Jor-El, Lara, his wife, and baby Kal-El. And Jor-El is basically saying, like, yeah, look, here's the deal. Your dad and I kind of aren't on speaking terms because I found out he was doing some mad science stuff. And I'd really like to talk to him because I think something might be happening with the planet. But I'm not going to tell you specifically what, Kara. But I need you to talk to your father and get him to talk to me, okay? Cool, bye. Then we cut back to Zor-El, who's in his lab, doing some weird stuff. And his wife, I believe it's Allura, comes in. And she's just like, oh, hey, what's going on? How can I help? And he's like, oh, don't touch anything at all. This is all very important. And trust me, those aren't like guns or anything like that. Just please go away. And at that point, another planet quake happens, and Zor-El lets on that he has a plan and is unwilling to tell his wife. And he's just like, hey, like, trust me, it's better that you don't know, but you will know very soon. Okay, cool? Just keep it all under wraps. So at this point, Zor-El and Kara go to one of the power generators outside of Argo. And he's like, yeah, don't worry, this isn't mad science stuff. This is just normal science stuff. I built you a rocket ship. Get in. And she's like, okay. And we see that the family crest is inside, like her Supergirl outfit, which actually is apparently like a flight suit or something like that. And Kara's like, oh my God, that's great. I love it. It's fantastic. Question, does mom know? And he's like, no, actually mom doesn't know. And you probably shouldn't tell her. So then we see Allura is back in the lab, sees that Zor-El is planning something. And when she goes trying to find her husband, she seemingly meets Superboy, like modern day Superboy, who says there's still time to say goodbye to Kara. I don't know this part yet. This is weird. Anyway, we then see that Kara's wearing the outfit, and then she starts feeling all woozy, and Zor-El's like, yep, this is my plan. Here's the deal. Krypton is going to explode. Yep, there it is. I haven't been talking to Jor-El, but every time he texts me, like, I read it, and all of them are saying Krypton's going to explode, and I completely concur. So what I did was I built up this bubble that's going to go over Argo City, possibly saving the city, but just in case it doesn't, I want you to be double extra super safe. So I'm going to rocket you around a yellow sun where you can be held in stasis until such a time where I can arrive and let you out. And if not, then eventually you'll get out and you'll be super powerful from the yellow sun. And Kara's like, no, please, Dad, if you've ever loved me, don't do this. And he's like, it's because I love you that I am doing this. So he puts Kara in the rocket, records the message for her that we've seen in previous issues where he's like, oh, I'm so sorry that it had to be this way, my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And then someone breaks in and he's like, I told you to wait outside. And then he's shot. And we see the person who shoots him is his wife, Allura, who's like, what are you doing to Kara? And she goes up to the rocket, sees she's still knocked out. The planet quakes are getting worse. And he's like, there's no time, honey. I knew you wouldn't approve. I had to keep this secret from you. I'm so sorry. Launch the ship. The ship launches, and Allura is just screaming, trying to get Kara out. But it launches out, and there's nothing she can do. And they're both forced to just watch on as the bubble ends up closing. They're both crying, and Krypton blows up on the final page with seemingly Argo City probably a little okay. Tiny bit okay, but regardless, powerful issue. Very, very strong in terms of, like, because it's all told from the perspective, like, the internal thoughts of the father of, yeah, I have to do this incredibly messed up thing just to possibly save us and definitely save my daughter. Like, it's an impossible choice to make. And I think it did a decent job of saying, like, yeah, okay, I understand how difficult this was for him. And yeah, he's probably got some mental issues going on with his crazy science work, but it's still a deep dive into this character that we got to see why this choice was made without Kara's influence. So overall, I'd say this issue is an 8. I definitely enjoyed it. I think it was a solid experience in the final day of Krypton, and I would highly suggest it.